I know it's a couple days after Double or Nothing, but better late than never to review AEW's Double or Nothing on the Squared Circle Psychobabble. My name is Michael Valenti. We start things off with the opening match, MJF versus Wardlow. This is exactly how this match needed to be booked, honestly. We know the controversy that happened before Double or Nothing where MJF no-showed FanFest. There was apparently a flight booked for him to go back home to New York. And people were talking about it. Is it a shoot? Is it a work? Is it a shoot that turned into a work? Personally, I think it's been a work the whole way. I honestly do. I think this whole contract situation with MJF, I think is partially like a shoot because he believes he's underpaid. But this is all part of the MJF character anyway, where he believes he's better than everybody. So he wants to be paid like he's better than everybody. And I think this is going to be told throughout the weeks and weeks and weeks of Dynamite heading into All Out and whatever the case may be. But he also fears Wardlow, and that's why we saw the many different obstacles that Wardlow had to go to get this match to begin with. So did people know if MJF was in the building? There's reports saying that up until he showed up to Double or Nothing, they didn't know. And I think that's all by design. I honestly do think this is all by design. And of course, MJF doing the gesture of the airplane, signifying that, yes, we know of the story of him leaving or possibly leaving to go back home. And I think, you know, the way this match actually happened, like I said before, was perfect. MJF just dodging Wardlow as much as he can, trying to avoid that power bomb, including biting him at one point. Thought he could be the smart one, getting that diamond ring in, but Bryce Ramsberg doing a great job pointing that out, actually taking the ring off of MJF. Wardlow knew this was happening too, so he was smartened up by it. And then we got the power bombs, 16 power bombs total to get the win. And with each power bomb, you could just see the excitement from Wardlow, like he's having the weight lifted off his shoulders. He could finally be free. And after the match, Tony Schiavone shows the graphic up on the screen saying that Wardlow is officially All Elite. Perfect way to close this out. And I know some people might think it's underwhelming because it should have been more of a contested battle, but you know, I don't think MJF loses anything from being squashed. Wardlow needed to be presented like this. And the follow-up for Double or Nothing on Dynamite this week is going to explain this so much better as to whether MJF is shooting or working, or this whole storyline, is it a shoot turned into a work? But like I said, I think it's a work all along. And this is all part of the storyline and using the contract as part of the storyline. Next up, we have the Hardys versus the Young Bucks here. I thought this was a good match, but we got that typical Bucks match that fans that don't like the Young Bucks criticize them for, and that they are spot monkeys or they don't know, you know, they don't follow the tag rules all the time, and Rick Knox being the referee not enforcing those tag rules. So there were times where all four men were in the ring and Rick Knox is just standing there not enforcing those rules. That took me out of the match a little bit. But I still thought it was a good match nonetheless. I thought there were some good spots here. I love the come super kick me more from both Jeff and Matt Hardy, kind of, you know, telling the Young Bucks, you got nothing on us. You're just Hardy cosplayers. I love that the Young Bucks did the Twist of Fate Swanton Bomb combo to a near fall. I thought that was great. I love that the fans were chanting Brandon Cutler and Nick Jackson slapped him in the face. You know, great comedy spot there as well. So there were some good moments in here, but it could have been better if they just stuck to tag team rules a little bit better. But not the worst match in the world. I've definitely seen a lot worse tag team matches in the last few years, whether it is in AEW or other promotions. But the next match we have is Anna Jay challenging for the TBS Championship against Jade Cargill. And I think the lack of build for this significantly hurt this match, as the fans were not interested. There was not a lot of cheering or booing or any reaction from this match up until the end, really. We got a debuting Stokeley Hathaway get involved. We had the baddies get involved. We had Mark Sterling get involved. Jade eventually gets the win with the Avalanche. Jaded, But then afterwards, we got Chris Statlander, who is now super over after her match with Rampage against Ruby Soho. And, the fans are really behind her. So I think that is going to be an eventual challenger for Jade Cargill for the TBS Championship. And some people have thrown out that they think Statlander is going to be the one to dethrone Jade. And I think if Statlander is shown on TV more after this weekend, it's a possibility. But they have to showcase her and they have to build a story behind it. But after Statlander came out, we also got the debuting Athena, formerly Ember Moon. And there was a 6-woman standoff here. We had the baddies and Jade Cargill on one side, Chris, Athena, and Anna Jay on the other side. So this story is not over. And we're definitely going to get some aftermath starting this Wednesday on Dynamite or this Friday on Rampage. So while the match itself wasn't the best in the world, given that we had 2 women with very little experience. Anna Jay, I think, has only been in wrestling for 2 years, and Jade Cargill wrestling literally her 32nd match in professional wrestling. It was good for what it was, but I think Jade needs to start working with a little bit more experienced wrestlers that can highlight what she is capable of in dominating this women's division. And I think with Athena in this mix, that's going to happen. Next up, we have the 6-man tag match of the Death Triangle versus the House of Black. I think this was a great combination of these 6 men showcasing what they're great at. And I mean, the House of Black definitely needed to win this match. And we finally get the eventual turn that people wanted to see of Julia Hart finally joining the House of Black. So the ending is where Pac is going for the Black Arrow for the victory. Lights go out. Julia Hart shows up when the lights come back on, blows the black mist, and eventually giving the win to the House of Black. Now let's get this whole storyline some direction here. Obviously, the Death Triangle won't be done with the House of Black, given that they lost through nefarious means thanks to Julia Hart. But now we can actually get the Varsity Blondes involved here, where now it's officially Julia Hart is part of the House of Black. So how do the Varsity Blondes react to that? If they do not follow up with this week on either Dynamite or Rampage, it's a huge missed opportunity for AEW. And I think it has to happen. And we got to see the Varsity Blondes a little bit more against the House of Black. Maybe they tie up with the Death Triangle too, or the whole enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of thing. That has to happen. Something has to happen in this feud. We have the Owen Hart finals next. Adam Cole beats Samoa Joe for the men's. Britt Baker beats Ruby Soho for the women's. I saw this coming a mile away. Ever since the brackets were done and finalized and we saw where everything was going, I knew Adam Cole and Britt Baker were going to win these tournaments. And it just made it even more obvious that Adam Cole comes out with a 1994 King of the Ring-esque attire, and Britt Baker comes out in pink and black as well, as opposed to their counterparts. Samoa Joe and Ruby Soho did not wear any pink. So that kind of made it obvious that these two were winning. The matches themselves were not something to write home about. They were solid matches, decent matches, but I mean, for the finals of this tournament, I would have expected a little bit more from these matches. I think Britt and Ruby had the better match, especially because the finish with Samoa Joe and Adam Cole, you have Bobby Fish get involved, which I get it, but where's Jay Lethal? Where's Sanjay Dutt? Where's Satnam Singh? They're nowhere to be found, and they're a huge part of the storyline. They have to be involved in this finish. Having Bobby Fish in there, yes, I get it, but a missed opportunity there to give Samoa Joe his first loss in AEW, involved with someone that's really, I guess, not involved in the story. I think they missed the boat on that. But either way, after those matches, we had a great presentation. Martha Hart, Owen Hart's widow, did an amazing job speaking to the fans and having a great speech. And Tony Khan said that she was going to get as much time as she needed to say what she needed to say about the Owen Hart Foundation or the tournament or Owen's legacy. And I think she did a great job. And I think the fans really loved it as well. So it was a really great moment, after all these years of Owen's passing, that, she was able to speak to the fans and they gave her a great reaction to it. So great job there. Next up, we have probably the most, I don't want to say useless. That's not the right word, but unanticipated 6-man tag or 6 mixed tag. American Top Team versus Frankie Kazarian, Sammy Guevara, Ty Conti. Paige Van Zant's first match here in All Elite Wrestling. A lot of the focus on her wrestling for the first time. Obviously showing signs of green in this match. But the match focused on Sammy and Ty just making out and, being all over each other while Frankie Kazarian's trying to win this match, because if they lose, they can't challenge for the TNT Championship as long as Scorpio Sky has it. And that's really where the storyline is going to branch off with this. Obviously, Scorpio Sky hits the TKO on Kazarian to get the win here after all the shenanigans with Sammy and Ty Conti in this match. I thought this was better than what we expected. And given the build to this has been very, okay, what the hell's going on? Why are we doing this? Thrown together, changing every week. And I'm glad that there's finally a sense of direction with Sammy and Ty and Kazarian here. And we know that Scorpio Sky is going to be facing Dante Martin for the TNT Championship after later on in the show. Martin challenges Sky. So I think finally putting this to rest. Let's move on and put it behind us. Now, the next match after that is Darby Allin versus Kyle O'Reilly. It was a very solid match, and unfortunately, Kyle O'Reilly out-wrestled Darby Allin in this match. And, I'd like to get Darby Allin some bigger wins here in AEW, especially as of late. On the pay-per-views, he hasn't really won any big matches. He lost to MJF. He loses to Kyle O'Reilly here. So got to get him back on the winning side of things. It's not like it hurts his stock whatsoever. It doesn't hurt his stock that he lost to Kyle O'Reilly. He's one of the best wrestlers in the world. But, Darby needs to get back on the winning side. Obviously, this is going to lead to a Sting and Darby versus Red Dragon tag team match. So that's where you got to give the win to Kyle O'Reilly. I think basically the match itself was just the technicality approach of O'Reilly versus the Daredevil approach of Darby Allin. I thought it was a great mix, but given the lack of build, it's hard to get invested in this match. But I think as the weeks go on here throughout the summer, it could build and build and build to eventually a tag team match, maybe at All Out, maybe before then. But I think this is the point where the show really took off to where it needed to be with all the anticipation of this Double or Nothing. It starts off with Thunder Rosa and Serena Deeb. Their Achilles heel, both of them, is their promo. They're not the greatest talkers. However, they are very, very good wrestlers, and it showed in this match. This was a great technical match of both of them working submissions and holds, and Deeb working on the knee on Thunder Rosa to get that whatever submission is, whether it's a cloverleaf, a sharpshooter, figure four. That was really what this match was all about. But eventually Thunder Rosa does get the win here, and I think that's definitely the right move to keep her the AEW Women's Champion. Now, I think if Tony Khan wants to feature these two more, they have to be featured more in the ring, not so much on the mic. And obviously with Thunder Rosa being the AEW Women's Champion, she has to be on TV more. Being on TV for like 15 minutes between when she won the title in March and Double or Nothing is clearly not enough. And hopefully, with the fans behind her, even with the lack of build of the story, I think that has to be something that Tony Khan has to address and put Thunder Rosa on more, because she's obviously one of the fan favorites in the women's division, and something that the women's division really needs is some focus besides Jade Cargill and some focus besides Britt Baker, and Thunder Rosa could be that focus and get her on every week, whether it's Rampage or Dynamite. Get her on TV, not Dark, not Elevation. She's the women's champion. She should be on every week. The next match, I'm telling you guys right now, if after this match, you still believe there is a difference between pro wrestling and sports entertainment, you obviously hate one of the two. They are the exact same thing. Pro wrestling is sports entertainment, and nothing proved that more than the Anarchy in the Arena match. This had everything we expected it to be. It was basically a live version of Stadium Stampede. They were all over the place. They were doing all these stunts. We got, diving off ladders. We have forks going into the eyes. A playback of Moxley and Jericho in their feud for the AEW World Championship. We had the concession stand brawl. We almost got the damn Dippin' Dots. I'm glad JR pointed that out. He wanted the damn Dippin' Dots. And it was just blood everywhere. You had the great spot there with the gasoline to bring in the fireball thing. I thought this was a very entertaining match, and seeing that within the last 2 months, two of the most entertaining matches I've seen were this match and the Sami Zayn versus Johnny Knoxville match, and they're not what you would call pro wrestling. They are what you would call sports entertainment. And this whole story of pro wrestling versus sports entertainment being all done through sports entertainment is just proving to you fans that think there's a difference between the two. There's not. And why do you hate Chris Jericho? Because he's pointing this out to you as the heel that they're sports entertainers. They're all sports entertainers. Even Kingston, even Moxley, even Danielson, who might not like the term sports entertainment, or you fans that don't think they're sports entertainment, this match proves pro wrestling is sports entertainment. You could challenge me in the comment section to try to tell me the difference between the two. There's not a difference. And this match definitely showcased why. Next up, we have the triple threat tag team title match. I personally am surprised that Jurassic Express got away from yet another triple threat tag team title match to retain the tag team titles, but maybe it is the right call, because until those titles are lost, you're not going to see that turn from either Christian to Jungle Boy or Jungle Boy to Christian. And maybe there's still some story to tell here or more tension to be built here, and eventually goes to All Out. And my typical approach to predicting these kind of matches is you kind of cancel out the two that are feuding and leave the odd man out that ends up winning. And while Jurassic Express is kind of feuding with these two, the focus was Swerve and Keith Lee and Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs. So I should have, used that judgment to think that the Jurassic Express were going to win. But I honestly thought we were finally going to get the tag titles on Starks and Hobbs to help build this tag team division, but not the case. But I thought this match was still very, very good. And I think all 6 men were highlighted in a very, very good way. And the tag teams were very, very good. And we got some great tandem offense from all 3 teams. So I didn't hate the match at all. I thought it was a very, very good match, but just like the Hardys and the Bucks, Rick Knox was the official, and I lost track of who was the legal man at times, and things were chaotic and rules weren't enforced. So that would be the only blemish of this match. I thought it was a very good match nonetheless. We head to the main event, CM Punk and Hangman Page. Now, I'm glad I'm not the only one that thought of Hangman Page's line, I'm defending All Elite Wrestling from you, was something that we don't know what it's supposed to mean. And Tony Schiavone and Jim Ross both point this out at the beginning of the match. Excalibur, being, the counteract to this, said what I thought he meant was Hangman Page is defending this from the originals of AEW. CM Punk was not an original AEW wrestler, and here he comes to challenge for the World Championship. And this is really the first time a non-first timer is challenging for the AEW World Championship in a main event stage. And I mean, yeah, you have Adam Cole too, but really those two are really the only two But I think this match is definitely more high profile given that Punk has been gone for 7 years before he came back last summer. And now he's getting an AEW World Championship match. And I think that threatens some of the people in AEW, whether that's a shoot or a work shoot, whatever the case may be. I think that was the way to go about it. I just wish there was a week before this match to explain that a little bit better, other than Excalibur trying to explain it on the spot there. But nonetheless, I thought this match was amazing. I thought the story being told by the two were great. I thought the focus on the emotional, stability of Hangman Page throughout this match was excellent. And Hangman Page did an amazing job telling that story. CM Punk was great in that, calm, cool, collected. No, even though I'm getting beat down, I'm still going to come out with the win here. I love that both try to do their finishers. Yes, I understand CM Punk botched it twice, but Excalibur pointing out that's not his finishing move, so he might not have the technique right. I thought that was an excellent job by Excalibur to point that out. And I think the finish, which ties into Bret Hart, because he did mention there's not going to be this masturbatory Bret Hart match, and yet during the match we had the sharpshooter applied. Both of them are selling their knees, which Bret Hart has done how many times in his career. Maybe that's overanalyzing on my part, but something to think about. But the finish, if you didn't think Roddy Piper at WrestleMania 8, when Piper thought he was going to hit Bret, or when Piper was going to hit Bret Hart with the bell, and that didn't happen, and he just throws it away. Same thing happens here where Hangman Page was going to hit CM Punk with the belt, has second thoughts, throws it away, goes for the buckshot lariat, waits too long, go to sleep, and that's it. We have a new AEW champion, and it's the right move. CM Punk has to be the AEW champion right now. The summer of Punk has begun, and now CM Punk can prove to the world that he really can be the face of a promotion like he thought he was back in 2013, 2014, before he left WWE. This is the time to prove it. And yes, there's things right now that show that he's at that point, but now is the chance to really take AEW to the next level. And I think he's going to do it. I think this is going to help bring AEW to the next level. Get some guys that he can work with that could showcase whether young guys or veterans. I think there's a plethora of great matches that he can have as AEW World Champion. And maybe we get Punk versus Omega. The next two pay-per-views are going to be in Chicago. So obviously you want him to sell those tickets because of the hometown thing. So who's he going to face from New Japan? You got Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley you could work with. So I think it's the right move, and they definitely close this out with a great, amazing match. Now, overall, I think the show had its low points and its high points. If I were to grade it from an A to an F, I think it was a B pay-per-view. It definitely could have been better with some better build to some of these matches. Obviously, the length probably could be debated as too long, but that's what you're going to get with these AEW pay-per-views when you only do them four times a year. They're going to be long. So let me know in the comment sections what you thought of this pay-per-view. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss an episode. We'll see you on the next episode of the Squared Circle Psychobabble.